Well, I know somebody whose stomach is upset after the weekend's happenings at Wembley Stadium. Do you think old Jungle Jack Perry? What is it? FAFO? Around, find out? Is that what the kids are saying these days?
I didn't know the kids were saying that, but I believe that is what that is.
Well, he around. I don't know if he's found out yet. It seems like it's hard to teach these kids a lesson.
Yeah, he around, but then Tony rewarded him by giving him a Saturday morning show.
Well, that's true. And also he was able to leave the show early because he didn't have to wait for 5 more hours till the main event was over to get out of there. Now, old Jack Perry was asked to leave the premises after getting reprimanded, I guess, again for his behavior by CM Punk. This was reported pretty much as the first match was going on. As Punk was in the ring, he was already 1-0 in backstage skirmishes for the afternoon or the evening, whatever time it was over there.
You know, when I saw the first report of this, I thought it was a joke. I didn't think it was real because of the timing.
What one would think, but again, it is a joke. It's a joke that this cannot be controlled. It's a joke that Tony has lost the plot on getting his EVPs and their little fucking play friends in their clubhouse to just stop, to just quit. And for those of you who have not been on the internet, we reported here a week or two ago, and it was all over the place, that old Jungle Jack Perry wanted to tape a brawl with Hook here not long ago at one of the tapings that would involve getting thrown through or slammed through a car window with real glass in it. And apparently now that the story has come out more fully and we understand what was happening, there was several people before Punk got to the building that day that had already told old Jack, no, we don't want to do that. We don't have any gimmick glass. No reason to take that risk. I've heard Tony Schiavone was one of the people that told him that. I've heard that the new director, producer, head of television production, can't recall his name, but he told Jack Perry, no, we can't do that. Somebody else involved in talent relations may have been, one of the office people, whoever. Several people had told old Jack, no, we're not going to do this. And he's like, fuck you to all of them. I'm going to do it. And that's why they all came to Punk when Punk got to the building and said, would you tell this guy we don't want him to do this shit? So apparently Punk had to be the one to tell him, not ask him, we wish you wouldn't do this or please don't do this, but say, no, we're not going to fucking do it. You've been told you're not going to do it. Are you going to do it now? Apparently not. And so little Jack got his panties in a bunch over that. And on the pre-show of All In Wembley, which added another, I guess, 2 hours to the 4-hour pay-per-view, so it was a 6-hour presentation altogether there, old Jack is working with Hook, and they're having some type of garbage match. What was the rules of this thing, Brian? Because I saw the clip of the incident in question. I didn't watch this whole match, because why? But what was the rules? They were in the entranceway fighting next to a car.
I watched this, and I don't remember because I didn't have the commentary on what the rules were. I think it may have been like a street fight, maybe. I don't know.
Anything goes?
Something goes or nothing goes.
A Wembley street fight. So they're fighting in the entranceway next to a car. And then old Jungle Jack looks at the camera and pats the windshield and says, see this? It's real glass. Cry me a river, into the camera, and then goes to suplex fucking Hook on it. But Hook turns it around and suplexes old Jack through the windshield. It didn't bust all the way out. It's the, windshield glass, so it broke everywhere. And you could see that it cut Jack on his arm. You could see him bleeding when they staggered back to the ring. But he just wanted to prove that even though that he was told by people representing his employers, various people in charge of various things, that he shouldn't do it. And then he was told by one of the big stars in the company, of which he is not one of those, that he shouldn't do it. But then he gets over there and he said, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to make sure that this fucking guy that told me no is suitably chastened for restricting my artistic creativity.
Hey, the bigger issue is, since the story got out, did Tony tell him no?
Well, nobody even said Tony was there at the time.
I'm saying for the second time for doing it at the stadium. I thought that's what you were talking about.
Oh, no, I'm saying that all these people told him not to do it the first time. It has not come out whether he bothered to tell anybody that they were going to go through the windshield this time around, or whether this was just something he was going to do and he was going to tell the camera, because he knew that Punk was on first on the pay-per-view as the next match, and he'd be back there within reach of the monitor, standing by like a good professional, waiting to go out so they didn't have to run and look for him.
And you didn't do justice to his voice, because you made it sound like, because again, like his voice... I made
it sound like he was a grown adult man, didn't I?
Yeah, his voice is part of the issue with his promos, but it was like, real glass, cry me a river.
Yeah, and cry me a river. And he's also 137 pounds.
But I have to think they have a car out there. There's no way he's doing that spot without someone giving pre-approval. And there's a car out there. You have to expect it's going to happen, too.
Well, but the question is anybody supposed to go through the windshield, or are they just supposed to slam their head in the fucking door, or were they going to start it and run over somebody? We don't fucking know, but point being, childish bullshit, right? From the children. The same group that we always hear from.
Same locker room. Same locker room.
So, and now that the Cucamonga contention had been heard from, they go ahead and finish their match, just Jack and Hook. And then, apparently, from what we're told, from what we are hearing that has been reported, Jack Perry, and I can see, you know, if one guy's coming through Gorilla, the other guy's standing there, you're going to pass, right? So Jack apparently comes through and either the story was confronted Punk, but either said something smart ass and or bumped him as he went by him saying something. And then at one time, the story was that Punk then punched Perry, but that was quickly modified to no. A lot of people are saying he choked him. Now, this has brought images to mind to people on Twitter, apparently, of that Punk reached up and grabbed the guy in a rear naked choke or a front head chancery or something and choked him out on the floor. I don't believe this to be the case. I've not heard. We don't know yet. But the first thing when I thought, and I'm envisioning this kind of confrontation where this little fucking cocky asswipe, after he said that right in the fucking camera where he knows the guy's going to be watching the monitor, and then he comes through Gorilla, whether he said something or whether he just shoulder bumped him on the way by or whatever, I think Punk goozled him. And that would be the normal reaction to me would be to goozle the fucking guy and tell him what the fuck you have a problem with. I don't think...
People may not know what the term goozle means.
Oh, good Lord. He grabbed him by the goozle pipe. Imagine you're going to choke slam somebody, ladies and gentlemen, and the first move is to reach out and grab them around the neck. But normally you wouldn't do it if you're right-handed. You wouldn't do it with your right hand. If you're going to, and that used to be what the boys would say, well, I had to goozle that guy. You grab him around the goozle pipe. If the guy is up in your face, he's close enough, you got a problem with him, you're mad, but at the same time, you either don't want to hit him, you don't have room to fight, you don't necessarily think it needs to come to that right now, but a point needs to be delivered. If you're standing in front of the guy, you reach out with your left hand fairly quickly and snatch that motherfucker around the neck. With your thumb on one side of his neck and your fucking fingers on the other side of his neck, that means his goozle pipe, his windpipe is in the middle, and you squeeze. And while you're squeezing, and if there's a wall behind him, even better yet, because then you're squeezing and pushing and you got him pinned up against the fucking wall, and that's where you can get in close and you can relate the message to him that you want him to hear while you're looking in his fucking eyes and telling him what's going to happen if he doesn't have the proper goddamn attitude when you let go of his fucking neck. That's when you goozle somebody. That's what Ron Harris did to Shawn Michaels in Madison Square Garden. That's what the Sheik did to that fucking collegiate wrestler that wanted to try him that time in the back of the Kobo. That's what I can't imagine anybody in the wrestling business at one time or another hasn't goozled somebody, whether it be fellow co-worker, fan, or fucking potential employer or representative of same, or just if you're out somewhere. I mean, you've goozled people in your goddamn daily life, haven't you, Brian?
What do you mean in your daily life? Like, if you get into a fight, you do all sorts of things, but in your daily life? No.
No, you've never...
Have I ever put the banker against the wall by the throat? No, I haven't had to do that.
Well,
my lawyer does that.
You would be an odd standout in the wrestling business, at least up until the last 20 years or so, because I can think of about 12 to 15 people at various instances over time that I have had to goozle to make a point to. But anyway, that's what I bet that's what Punk did. He fucking goozled him and he put him up against a convenient wall and he said, "You little motherfucker, I got to go out and work now or I would have more time to fucking go into this with you, but you probably shouldn't be here when I'm fucking come back." Something like that. I mean, whatever.
I have not seen any detail about him goozling him. Where are you getting this?
Somebody said he choked him.
I saw a front face lock.
Do you think he got him in a front face lock?
I don't know.
I just heard choked him, and I'm thinking, well, that would be an odd place to just go for the UFC stuff right there. I would think you just, with that little prick, because what's Jack Perry going to fucking do? What's he going to fucking do? He should have thought about that before he started running his dick liquor. But if I was Punk, I would say, I got to go out for this match. I'm going to fucking goozle him. I'm going to tell him what I think of him, and I'm going to fucking leave the door open to rehash this later on and go out and have my match. So that's what I thought. That's what I could envision happening.
And again, we don't know the whole story because Sean Ross Sapp was the first one with a kind of a detailed story. And then Miro said it wasn't true that he was there, but Miro didn't say what he saw. And there's, the Punk side, and then there's the other side. Everyone can agree there was a confrontation and some bumping. Jack Perry was asked to leave the building. If you're Tony Khan and you are about to begin the greatest day of your life as a wrestling promoter, do you appreciate the fact that Jack Perry started this shit?
No, I don't. But at the same time, I don't know if Tony will realize that he's continuing to let these jackoffs do this, or whether he just thinks this is stuff that happens and there's nothing he can do about it. I don't know yet whether, fire the fucking little goof. Send a message. Look, I don't care if y'all have a problem and you want to talk about it in the back, then that's fine. We'll all sit down. But at next person that does shit on the air, I'm firing them, just like I fired Jungle Stooge. Get it? That would send a message.
Either fire them or make them work together. That's the other thing, because now everyone knows this happened. Everyone knows. See, I think that's what hurts the Bucks. When people see the Bucks now, people know that CM Punk kicked their ass. They know that happened. And they know that there's never going to be any working retribution. Now, here's another guy. No one is saying Jack Perry came out of this for the better. Everyone's saying there's a confrontation, and one way or another, Punk schooled him. Whether it was goozled him, or whether it was say fuck you to him, whatever it was, something happened. People are going to know about it. You either have to do something with it, or what's the point of the whole thing? Then you have more people on the roster who can't work with the biggest single star on the roster.
Well, but the thing... Is anybody clamoring to see CM Punk versus Jungle Jack Perry anyway?
They could make it mean something. I'm not saying on the face of it anyone's demanding that match. Certainly not.
I think we're stretching it to say that you could even make that match would that be the best use of Punk's time and effort to try to drag a match and money out of Jack Perry?
The argument wasn't whether it was the best use of CM Punk. It certainly wouldn't be.
So I would make guys work together when, with the group of the elite versus Punk and FTR, you could get money out of a shoot incident that happened out of that. But even Punk versus Perry?
I'm not saying Punk versus Jack Perry to main event All Out. Although I don't know who Punk's working with at All Out. We'll see what happens.
Do we know who's working it All Out? It's only fucking 5 days away.
There's Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs. There's Ruby Soho versus Statlander. There's another Darby versus Luchasaurus, I think, or Darby versus Christian. One of the two. But I was saying something, goddammit.
You were saying that we ought to make these guys work together.
I was saying it doesn't have to be the main event of a pay-per-view. It could be a 3-week program on Collision, because Collision needs shit like that.
I don't know if Collision needs Jack Perry.
You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You hate Jack Perry. You hate Jack Perry.
I mean, it's ridiculous at this point. This guy's had every chance in the world, and he underperforms every time. He's the anchor around everything's neck. In the 4 pillars deal. He's a good underneath mid-card babyface that gets sympathy selling against a veteran that'll keep him in line. Otherwise, he can't talk. He's obviously got an attitude problem. And the thing that... Maybe this is the problem. Maybe you're like the, average person in the locker room these days that's never been goozled or never goozled anybody. There's not enough goozling going on. These kids are in a fantasy world where they're all actors performing, with friends instead of in a goddamn business where it's predicated on fucking heat and violence and people that get out of control, and if you fuck with somebody, they're going to goozle you. They don't expect to get goozled.
The solution is not goozling anyone. Let's be very honest about it. And that wouldn't work, and that would cause a lot of problems for the company. So there has to be something else.
But here's the thing. The solution is not to goozle people, but also part of the problem is that there is not the belief, there's not the threat, there's not the trepidation that if they keep assing off that they will get goozled.
And again, that's a systematic problem with AEW.
Well, the thing is, you need to know that there is potential goozling that's going to take place if you run your fucking pie hole about somebody enough. And then you either want to continue running the pie hole and risk the goozling that you believe you can handle, or you want to fucking shut the fuck up if you don't want to get goozled.
But again, this goozling, whether it was a real goozling or a metaphorical one in terms of some sort of discipline, why would anyone there be afraid of that? What's been done to show anyone that there's any discipline for anything?
Punk's goozled a couple.
Well, he didn't goozle a couple. He punched one. Like you're using goozle now as an overall term for things.
Well, the goozle, the overall catch-all phrase of goozling. He goozled the Bucks. He goozled old Jungle Jack. Kenny got goozled in the way of goozling by Ace Steel. Why don't they just stop talking about him and just continue with their own other nattering about everybody else behind everybody else's back?
That's the other thing we haven't even talked about, just the stupidity of Jack Perry. Why are you doing that? Even if you were going to do the spot, say nothing. Why would you do that? Like you said, he has to know Punk's nearby. He knows what the schedule of matches are. I mean, that's why I think Jack Perry was the first one sent away. It wasn't just because Punk was working that match. What the fuck is he thinking?
He's not thinking. They think they won't get goozled. That's what he's thinking. That's what kept order in the wrestling locker room. Not only the camaraderie, not only the nature of being a family, a brotherhood, but also the fact that most of the guys in the locker room, if you dicked around with them long enough, would fucking goozle you. And you had to, in turn, be ready to do the same thing. And that kept everybody from goozling each other.
A lot of the goozling you've seen were because of things off camera. When it's something like this in a high-profile way, and again, enough people know the story that everyone immediately went to thinking he's talking about CM Punk when he said it. Does that change things?
No, well, No, because it was obvious. That changes things for the worse. That exacerbates him. He's being obvious. He can't even say it's the, what do the kids call it? Passive aggressive, where you're too much of a fucking gutless pussy to just tell somebody fuck you, so you say nice shit to them that means the same thing. He's just fucking around. Fuck around, find out.
Tony Khan has announced an investigation into the matter at the media scrum after the event. He couldn't comment on it. He admitted that there was indeed an incident without naming anyone, but said that he can't comment any further. It is under investigation.
Luckily, Inspector Jacques Clisel was able to immediately take care of the issue.